Here we can see Chile, Romania, Morocco, Vietnam, Ecuador, Florida, it's like Netherlands. Yeah, but we don't have here Russia. It's sad. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It's very interesting. Anyway, it's very interesting to compare every state with all countries. Can you imagine this? Oh my gosh. Hello, my name is Alex and I study English. And today with you I will watch another video. And this video was recommended me by One Moment. This video was recommended me by USS Das Moines CA134. You have very interesting. I didn't show. You have very interesting nickname. Thank you very much for your recommendation. This video will be in our playlist. My reacts to your recommendation. Thank you. And I found what your nickname means. Ship. What? Yeah, means this beautiful, interesting ship. And I want to read this ship was the lead ship of the class of US Navy heavy cruisers. Yeah, and it's very interesting. You have very interesting nickname. And let's watch this video. And this video is named What if every US state became independent? Of course, it will be very interesting to know this because, come on, I know what US say. Oh, again, I had Google Translator. I know what some states in the USA very have a really big economy, have a really big population. I know what maybe New York very will be very powerful state. Maybe also California and Florida, because of course, come on, I'm trying to understand American culture. I know some things, but anyway, I hope what in this video, I believe I know what in this video will be a lot of interesting information for me, and I will try to remember all this information. Yeah, why? Because it's interesting. Sometimes I'm asking myself questions. Oh, anyway, let's go. And you can support me. You can leave a like and subscribe to me. I appreciate it very much. And also, you can find the link below from my Patreon. I will be glad.
Sometimes we forget how big the US actually are, at least I do, and how large and powerful some of its states can be. Many of the states are economically powerful enough to surpass certain countries in the world, or they would be. So let's take a look at what would be the reality if each US state became independent and its own country. Now, we're going to assume that this would be viable. Forget the
Assume. I want to translate this word. Assume. Yeah. Is it right?
Assume.
Assume. Okay.
issues of military amongst other obstacles that would effectively make this impossible to ever happen. We're also not
Again. Something wrong with me. Obstacle. Oh, one moment.
Obstacle.
Obstacle. I'm right, I hope. Let's go.
Not going to take into account the fact that the US dissolving itself would not necessarily mean 50 new countries. Some others might unite into smaller unions, some could join neighboring countries like Canada or Mexico, but not for the sake of this video. What I'm going to be doing is just looking at the data of states and project how they would do as a country when compared to each other and the rest of the world. First, population. California comes at the top with 39 million, surpassing current country.
I was guessing. Of course, California, yeah, we can see New York, Florida, yeah.
Is like Poland or Canada, around the 33rd most populous country in the world. Texas is second with 28 million, Florida with 20, New York with 19, and Pennsylvania with 12. At the bottom of the population chart, we would have Alaska with 740,000, Vermont with 620, and Wyoming with 580,000, with less population than countries like Cyprus, Comoros, or Bhutan. Next, size. Alaska would be the biggest country out of the Union, becoming the 18th largest country in the world, smaller than Libya but larger than Iran. Texas and
I think what Alaska, it is a wonderful place for living, and it's for me. I speak about myself because I like winter. And can you imagine house between mountains? It's a really beautiful and wonderful view. Yeah, it's really wonderful when you can see all this every winter. I mean mountains. Yeah, it's great for me.
California would follow as the second and third largest countries out of the US. At the bottom of this list would be Rhode Island, Delaware, and Connecticut.
Delaware. He said on the bottom of this list, he means about size. And I want to know population of Delaware. Population of Delaware. Oh, I did a mistake. What? It's here. Population. Nearly 1 million people. Yeah. And capital, Dover? Wow. Dover. I want to know how to pronounce this. Dover.
Dover.
Dover. Oh, wow. And have Dover really beautiful looks. Okay, let's continue.
Delaware is so small that it's about the size of less than 1/5 of Estonia, and Rhode Island is smaller than the French island of Corsica. Also noteworthy that states like New York or Florida, who are prominent in the other rankings we'll see next, aren't that big, occupying the 27th and 22nd places respectively. Florida, for instance, is only a little larger than Portugal, and New York is close to the size of Belarus, showing us that size doesn't necessarily mean more economic power.
Yeah.
In economic terms, California would be ranking number 1. It's by far the most productive state and even self-sufficient in some aspects.
Am I right? In California, we can find Silicon Valley? One moment. I want to be sure. Silicon Valley in Northern California, that serves as a global center for high technology and innovation. Yeah, I was right. It's wonderful. Yeah. But I think I'm talking about facts which knows everybody in this world. Yeah.
And it would become the world's 5th largest economy, only behind China, Japan, Germany, and the UK. Texas wouldn't be that far behind though, also in second place as the world's 10th largest economy, between Brazil and Canada. The current economic might of the US is demonstrated by the fact that in an event like this, 4 states would be in the G20: California, Texas, New York, and Florida, kicking out Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and South Africa, as well as the US. This economic reality is demonstrated by the GDP of each state, or each new country in this case.
And at first I want to watch GDP of Russia, because I'm from Russia, come on. I know, I'm sure about this again, what some states will have better economy than Russia. How I must... GDP of Russia, because what does it mean? It's here. It's nearly... I don't understand. Here we have 1.7 trillion, and here we have PPP. But I think it's about this. Maybe 1.7 trillion. I don't know. It's confusing me. Yes. I think it's 1.7 trillion. Yeah, it means that I'm bad in the economy.
California would be at the top again, with a GDP of $2.7 billion. Texas with $1.7 billion, New York with $1.5, and Florida with $970 million. It seems as if, in the case of independence, these 4 would be at the top of almost all rankings amongst the old states. However, if we look at the GDP in another perspective, the GDP per capita, Massachusetts would have the highest one, ranking number 9 in the world, just behind the United Arab Emirates. The District of Columbia would technically be higher, but since it isn't an official state, I guess it would just be absorbed into Virginia in this scenario. This map is really interesting. It's a bit outdated from 2013, but it shows the equivalent GDP of each state to a current existing country.
One moment. I want to look at this better. One moment. Again. Yeah, maybe I can find here my lovely Russia. Here we can see Chile, Romania, Morocco, Vietnam, Ecuador. Florida, it's like Netherlands. Yeah. But we don't have here Russia. It's sad. Maybe not. I don't know. It's very interesting. Anyway, it's very interesting to compare every state with all countries. Can you imagine this? Oh my gosh.
It's a bit outdated from 2013, but it shows the equivalent GDP of each state to a current existing country, matching North Dakota with Uzbekistan, New Mexico with Ecuador, Connecticut to Greece, or Alaska to Luxembourg. But values have changed since then, and even these ones are a rough approximation. The end of the US.
A rough approximation. One moment. Approximation. Yes.
Approximation.
A rough approximation. Okay. I get it. Yeah.
US would also mean that a lot of the states would have to change their state flags, most of which have something to do with the Union. Most state flags are just the state seal, and usually the seal has a lot of elements of the US, like the eagle, the order of admission into the Union, or sometimes the actual US flag, so a change would definitely be in order for those. States like Ohio would probably want something that is more about their own identity. For instance, each state has an official bird, tree, and flower, so these could be put into use. On Ohio's case, the buckeye tree or the cardinal bird could be symbols on a new flag. I guess that in this case, states like California, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, New Jersey, or Maryland would have their problem solved having already original flags. In the case of California or Texas, these are even flags that already represented the territories at a time of independence, so it would make even more sense to maintain them. Religion would also be an interesting topic. 14 of these new countries would be of Catholic majority, 33 would be Protestant, and 3 would be Mormon.
It's very interesting, yeah.
Utah and Idaho creating the only 3 countries in the world who have a Mormon majority, along with Tonga, a small Pacific island. It's also interesting to see something else. Given that despite these differences, all states maintain a Christian majority, what would be the second largest religion in each of these new countries? The West Coast, Alaska, Hawaii, and some of the Midwest have Buddhism as their second largest religion. The Northeast, Judaism. And a lot of the South and Center states have Islam. Southern states are the most religious, at least in terms of attendance, so we could assume that religion would play a larger role in these future countries. States like Vermont, Maine, and New Hampshire are on the opposite end, with lower church attendance and perhaps less importance.
Attendance. Again, attendance.
Attendance.
Okay, I think I get it. With difficulties, but I get it.
Of religion for the population, assuming that military issues would not be a problem, and that the military power of the US would simply be divided among states according to the nature of each soldier. Texas would have the largest military, with a total of 292,000 troops. California would follow with a total of 247,000. And keep in mind that this data isn't really certain and might be outdated. With this data, Texas would be the 20th strongest military force in the world, above Canada, and California would follow right behind. However, this is just about soldiers. The question would be put of how to divide other military supplies and
I know what some of my subscribers are from Texas, and hello, of course I want to say hello everyone, and now we are talking about Texas, and hello Texas, my dear subscribers from Texas.
and vehicles like tanks, the US Navy, the Air Force. In my opinion, military unity is what makes a US breakup most unlikely. The fact that they would abdicate being the world's strongest military force, and the mere confusion and mess that it would be dealing with the post-Union military force. We can also take a look at some other interesting statistics that show us current differences between states.
Stats. Interesting stats. It's a short version, statistics. Okay?
That would transfer into differences between the new countries. For instance, the legalization of marijuana, legal on all of the West Coast for recreational use, for medical use in a bunch of other states, but illegal in some others. And remember that this is before the 2018 midterm election. In terms of crime rate, should the current stats be maintained, Vermont, Maine, and Minnesota would be the safest of the 50 countries. New Mexico, Alaska, Louisiana, and Arkansas would be the top 4 most dangerous countries.
Alaska will be the most dangerous from this list, and I want to live there, come on.
The states with the highest percentage of poor people could likely be in the South, while the ones with the least percentage of people in poverty would be in the Northeast. Some countries would have a male population majority, like Hawaii, North Dakota, or Wyoming, and others would have a female majority, like Delaware, Alabama, Mississippi, or Maryland. amongst many other stats. The thing is, all of these statistics, despite being about specific states, are collected in the context of the Union. Should the US dissolve, all of them would probably change because the way the states are is dependent or at least related to their coexistence within the same nation. For instance, California's economic might maybe would be reduced if it instantly saw its neighbors as new countries and not member states of the same union, because new trade agreements would need to be drafted, etc. And new necessities would emerge. For instance, the need of each new country to have their own military, meaning expenses in that respect, amongst so many other changes that would maybe change the power relation that now exists between states. However, I think we can draw a few conclusions from all this. In the event of every state becoming independent, 4 of them would instantly become powerful countries in the world. California, Texas, New York, and Florida.
California, Texas, New York, and Florida, they will be in G20.
They top the most significant criteria: population and economic power. However, others might also be at the top of successful countries which would emerge. Massachusetts has a solid public education and good local government using a somewhat European model in taxes, so they might be able to make it work. Other smaller states might have a more difficult time and lose a lot of their wealth as consequence of the central government not being around anymore. Maybe new unions would emerge, and we can only really try and guess what would happen. If you enjoy this one, remember to subscribe to catch new ones and leave a comment below with your...
I enjoyed, I like this video very much. And for this video, for this recommendation, I want to say thank you to you. Thank you. US Das, Moins CA 134. Thank you very much for your recommendation. And it's very interesting details. It's very interesting video, and from this video we are understanding how powerful USA. What some states can show you how strong they are when they are independent. Of course, I believe what together all states stronger. But anyway, this video was very useful for me and interesting, and I hope what for you it was useful and interesting too, and you can support me. You can leave a like and subscribe to me, and also I will be glad to read your opinion about this. What do you think about this topic? And you can be my Patreon, and for this I will leave a link below. And of course, thank you for watching me, thank you for having me, and of course, see you next time.